भगवान श्री योगी रामसुरत्कुमार की सर्वं योगी रामसुरत्कुमारार्पणम्। We were being able to chant his name once more for 1 hour, which is no small grace from Bhagwan. For 1 hour, which is no small grace from Bhagwan. Let us thank him heartily for the special blessing to all of us. And before we offer our today's prayers, we shall see how in those late 80s, Bhagwan had influenced, inspired and impacted upon different types of people. In different ways. Some of them are very different, very inspiring, very unique. Now we shall see how Shri Srinivasan of Villivakkam, Chennai came to be inspired by Bhagwan. In the early 80s, he was an astrologer doing predictions of the past, present and future to those people who chose to come to him. It was now around 1988 or something. An old man who came to him said he had been having dreams for some time in which an old man with a beard appeared often. So this customer, he wanted to know who it was. Shri Srinivasan closed his eyes as though he was intuiting, as though he was thinking very deeply about it. And then, without knowing, his lips uttered the word Yogi Ramsuratkumar. He swears that he had no idea about Yogi Ramsuratkumar, his name, his existence at all. It just happened. He was actually pretending to intuit. He just closed his eyes as though he was thinking very deeply about it, and then came up with this, not knowing that he had even uttered this name, Yogi Ramsuratkumar. It's only after he uttered, he wondered how this name came out of his mouth. And immediately the visitor asked him, where is he from? Again, he closed his eyes and he pretended as though he was thinking about it. He was trying to intuit. And again, his lips uttered the word Tiruvannamalai. He says, he swears, he knew nothing about the name or the place. It just happened. And immediately the visitor wanted to know if he could go to Tiruvannamalai and see him. But as And immediately the visitor wanted to know if he could go to Tiruvannamalai and see him. But as far as Srinivasan was concerned, he thought he had lied. He had lied to this man, and he did not know if there was such a person who existed at all. So he said, no, I have to go first. I have to go see him, and afterwards you can go. And soon after, he said, no, I have to go first. I have to go see him, and afterwards you can go. And soon after that, one of the days that followed, he was also working in an office without telling anybody. He felt a prompting. When he came out of the office, without taking any luggage with him, without telling his wife, any people, anybody at home, he just boarded the bus to Tiruvannamalai. About 6 o'clock, 6:30 in the evening, straight from the office. When he was traveling in the bus, it was about 10:30. The man who was seated next to him asked him where he was heading for. Then it struck Srinivasan. Where was he heading for? He simply mentioned the name Yogi Ramsuratkumar Tiruvannamalai. Then that man laughed and said, oh, there is no such person in Tiruvannamalai. Again, it came as a shock to him. In any case, he could do nothing about it. He had traveled so much, and they were nearing Tiruvannamalai. At 11:30 or so, they had to get down. Now this man assured him, when Srinivasan said he knew nobody there in Tiruvannamalai, he had not carried any luggage, he did not know where he would stay the night. This man who was seated with him offered, okay, I will be getting down at Periyar statue. You can also get down there and we shall see how to accommodate you. And then of course, around midnight, they got down near the Periyar statue. And then this man took him to Park Hotel. It was midnight, everybody was fast asleep. He went and woke up. well known to him. You please accommodate, give him a room. So after arranging, that man left. So Srinivasan went to his room. He cursed himself for starting like this, not knowing if there was such a person at all in Tiruvannamalai, not informing his wife that he was coming to Tiruvannamalai, not taking any luggage with him. Now he found himself in this room, in the strange room, in the strange place, in search of a strange person who people said did not exist at all. He was wondering what his wife would say, how much she would be worried, how much his people would be worried about him. And just thinking about all this, he got a headache. The whole night he spent miserably with a headache. In the morning he got up early, about 6 o'clock, after his the usual work, after washing his teeth and had a face wash, everything. He came out to have a cup of coffee and took some tablet for the headache. Then he came out, looked for an auto. The strange thing that happened was, as soon as he touched about 12 o'clock in the night, the previous night, when he got out from the bus, as soon as he landed in Tiruvannamalai, the current went off, the lights switched off. It was dark everywhere. And in the darkness, the man who came with me took him to the hotel and put him in a room. Now this morning, when he asked the autowala, where do you have to go? The autowala asked him. Then he said, please take me to Yogi Ramsuratkumar. Then again the auto driver laughed and said, there is no such person, Yogi Ramsuratkumar. But there is one Visiri Swami, I can take you and drop you there. So in those days he gave some 6 rupees or something, unimaginable today. And then he dropped him right outside Yogi Ramsuratkumar Bhagwan's residence in Sannadhi Street House. Now Srinivasan seated himself comfortably on one of those steps of Sannadhi Street House. It was behind him the temple. He showed his back to the temple, not knowing that he was showing his back to the temple. He just leaned on the wall that supported the steps and sat there comfortably, waiting for this Visiri Swami to come out. And suddenly somebody came, a passerby came and said, look, you are waiting for this Swami. This Swami would come out only at 10 o'clock. What are you doing now? It's only 6:30. Now if you have any work, you better go and attend to it and then come back. Of course, he would not listen to the passerby because there was no other work that he had to do. He had come all the way only to meet this person. So he kept on, and soon it was still somewhat dark in the veranda. Suddenly he heard a noise and he found a huge, very tall person coming out of the house and opened the grill gate. He draped himself at the doorway on the threshold and looked at Srinivasan. In one jump, Srinivasan stood up with folded hands. He heard as this figure emerged from inside the house, walked through the veranda. He heard something like an oracle. He heard a voice. And the voice said, the teacher is not important. Only the teaching is important. Actually, the voice said, it does not matter what the teacher does. What matters is what he teaches. So this is how he understood, Srinivasan understood that the teacher himself is not important, only the teaching is important. And suddenly he looked up, surprised, a little shocked at the figure that was emerging through the darkness. And he saw some man 8 feet tall, a huge, tall person with a turban. He opened the grill gate, stood there, like I said, draped himself at the doorway and looked at Srinivasan. By now Srinivasan was standing there, and he went to prostrate before him. Then Swami said, no, don't touch me. Then Srinivasan, something happened to him. He said, Guruve Sharanam, Sharanam to the Guru, surrender to the Guru. And then, without listening to what Swami was saying, he went and caught hold of Swami's feet. And then Swami said, okay, now you go. Go away, go to the temple. Go to the temple and come back. He dismissed him, but in those few seconds, Srinivasan saw how his thumb and the index finger were moving ceaselessly on an imagined mala, as though Bhagwan was doing some japa very fast. And then because he said, you go to the temple and come, of course Srinivasan had no mind to go to the temple. He had no idea about the temple or anything. He had come all the way only to see the Swami. And because he said, he rushed to the temple. He went straight to the sanctum sanctorum and came back in 10 minutes. As he was coming towards a house, he noticed that the veranda was in the shape of the number 7. And then when he came to the door, he looked through and then he saw some people already seated there, about 7 of them. The number came to him. He came to his mind. And then Swami was again at the gate. But this time when he opened, he had stretched his hands on both sides as though he did not want Srinivasan to come in, that he was blocking the way. And again he said, you have seen this sinner, dirty beggar. You have seen this dirty sinner. You can go. He closed the gate and went inside. That was all that happened. But something changed in Srinivasan permanently. He was a little dazed. He came out. He had some morning tiffin. And after that, he was going to come to the place where he got down the previous night. He looked at his watch. The time was 7 a.m. He boarded the bus, and for the first time, he burst out crying, not knowing why he was crying. Something had melted in his heart, and he felt like crying. He was crying openly for everybody to see. And then he came back home. He knew that his wife would take it out on him. She would scold him, and she did. She was asking, why would you go like this? What madness? Without telling us. He was in a dazed mood. He did not know what was happening to him. He seemed to have changed overnight. He kept silent. He did not say anything. As a matter of fact, the whole day he was unable to talk. He fell into a silence. And that day, one Priya Kalyanaraman, the editor of a magazine, a popular magazine, visited him and he was doing all the talking. This Kalyana Raman was talking. In answer to his questions, he wrote something. Srinivasan wrote something and gave, and then he gestured to him to publish it as an article under the title Suya Darshan, the vision of the self. And of course, this Kalyana Raman, he published it in one of those popular magazines. But then, it was only after some time, Srinivasan came to know the day he fell into silence, a natural silence, was unable to speak, even to this editor of the magazine. It was December 1st, the Jayanti day of Bhagwan Yogi Ramsuratkumar. It all happened very naturally, one after the other. And after that, he became mad. He became a devotee of Yogi Ramsuratkumar. He kept up a photograph in his house and he kept on talking to him all the time. He says he did not know why the name came to him. When the one strange thing is, after his visit to Tiruvannamalai, he went in search of the visitor who came and told him that Swami was appearing in his dreams. Strangely, that man said, Swami stopped coming in his dreams. Now, one important thing that happened was, he had gone in search of Yogi Ramsuratkumar, and when he got down from the bus at 12 o'clock in the night, there was somebody to give him accommodation, to arrange for his accommodation, and to say there was no such person as Yogi Ramsuratkumar. The autowala said there is only Visiri Swami, and he took him there. Now, after visiting Bhagwan, when he came to the Periyar statue, when he was waiting for the bus to come, there was a man standing there, and this man, he opened the top himself. He came, voluntarily talked to him, and asked him what he was doing there. Srinivasan said, he came to meet, he met one Visiri Swami. Oh, you met Visiri Swami? He has another name. It's Yogi Ramsuratkumar. He said that and laughed. And Srinivasan, when he boarded the bus back home, he thought this man also would board. But then this man was not to be seen anywhere, nor did he get into the bus. That was then he had another shock. And that was when he burst out crying. That was when he knew that the person he came after was the same Swami that he met. He had darshan. And that brought out a permanent change in him. What a way to take somebody into his fold. What a strange way. The ways of God, Bhagwan often used to say, the ways of God are mysterious. You can never question God, why he was doing a certain thing and why he was not doing a certain thing. His ways are always mysterious. This happened in 1988 or 89. Srinivasan says in those days there was no phone at all in the area where he lived, and that was the reason why he did not inform his wife. Everything happened on its own. A sequence of events. Now, why I found it interesting to narrate, just see the word Yogi Ramsuratkumar coming out, the way Bhagwan took over some people. Very, very strange, very divine, very intuitive. And there are different ways in which Bhagwan had taken over many people. Bhagwan had enriched their lives by his presence, by his leelas. Now this power is the same power that runs the whole cosmos, the intelligent director of the whole cosmos. We shall now appeal to him. He took over even without anyone seeking. Now we shall appeal to this power to take over. Today we find ourselves, the world,